Okay, I think it's high time that we take a video of that particular palm right over there. And yes, every now and then, it's very rare, but every now and then, I will take my sombrero off and shave. And, but the problem with that is that, like, when I do that, no one recognizes me. So I very quickly grow my beard out again, put my sombrero back on, and then people are like, oh yeah, I know that guy. They won't recognize me looking like this. Anyway, here we go. Parajubaea. Torrellyi. Yeah, let's look at this thing. It's from Peru. Now, I was not so sold on this tree, this type of palm. Excuse my hybrid Canary Robolini here. We're going to have to get through this to get over here. This is what happens, when you're afflicted with a palm addiction. You'll see someday. Anyway, I wasn't so sold on this tree when it first sort of hit the shores here. Probably about 20 years ago. I don't know, people knew about it, I guess, but they went up and got a lot of seed. A lot of seed hit California, and people were growing it. And when they're young, these trees are stringy, ugly little things. They're not very pretty at all. And I'm like, ew, that doesn't look very pretty. And so it's from a high altitude, pretty dry region of Peru. I've seen the photographs where the trees are from. All you have to do is see photographs of, native habitat. You pretty much tell, like, what the plant's going to require. And in this case, it looks like they had really high sunlight exposure. The plants surrounding it looked very drought tolerant. And so it looked like the palm had some really good promise for California because, we're pretty dry here, high intensity sunlight. So anyway, I planted one out here just for fun. Now, what is surprising me now is how attractive this tree really is becoming. It's gotten out of its juvenile phase, and it's now making foliage, which is really, really beautiful. Let's get it here. Oh, excuse me. Look at that foliage. It's beautiful, right? It's tough. It's leathery. It's pretty dark green. It's a little olive green, but this is the amazing thing about this tree. So I don't really water this area at all anymore. Right here, you can see these are Puya bromeliads. There's some succulents in here. There's crown of thorns down in there. And look, this tree is sitting on the edge, a precipice of a cliff, a little man-made cliff by yours truly. And I'm not watering this tree at all. Yet, look what it did. Look at this big, fat trunk. All right, let me show you my big, hairy foot. For comparison, that's a size 12 foot. So if that's a size 12 foot, that's a big, big trunk for such a little tree. It's only have about 5 foot of trunk total. But I don't know if we can get like a good shot of this thing from a shade location where we can get out of the sun exposure and examine it a little bit here. Do a little zoom on it. But as you can see, it's holding up really well. It doesn't get any water over there, yet it puts on growth. That's just remarkable. How is it doing that? I'm not entirely sure where the drought-tolerant mechanism is coming from. But because it's on that mound, whatever water would be there would just very quickly disappear because of the positive drainage flow that would happen. Because as you can see, the elevation is like 7 feet lower within 8 feet of the plant in an area that's not getting water anyway. And so normally you treat like a queen palm. If you put a queen palm in conditions like that, the queen palm would just, it might not die, but it would look terrible. It'd be bright yellow, and it would be just scrawny and weak and everything else. It just would not be a pretty sight. But the Parajubaea, it's called the Peruvian mountain coconut because it actually does make a fruit, much like a Chilean wine palm, that has coconut in the middle that's edible. Of course, this one hasn't done it yet. because it's too young. But we also get a tremendous amount of wind out here. And with wind, usually you get some desiccation on your foliage. Yet on this tree, we don't have any. The tips, you can see the tips. Let's see if you can see the tips. The tips of the foliage are more or less perfect. Even on the lower hanging older fronds. Look at this frond over here. So we can get a good look. I mean, there's tiny little tip burn, but you'd expect way more from a plant that is exposed to full blazing sun, doesn't get any water whatsoever, and yet it's totally handling it. The other thing you'll notice on this tree is that it's not stiff, it's wispy. The foliage droops, which is really pretty. It looks like hanging icicles of tropical foliage, right? That light hitting it. But it blows in the wind pretty well. Any little bit of wind that comes up gives it that nice, beautiful shimmer effect, which hypnotizes you, especially after margaritas in the afternoon or any time of day. And what that also does is it gives you a really nice movement of shadow pattern on the ground. So I guess I'm zoomed in a little too much here. Yeah, so you can take a look at that, and it gives you this wonderful sound quality. So this is a really intriguing tree. And it's also, look how wide it is. Not many palms get that kind of a spread. We're probably talking about, I'd say close to 20-foot spread. The Canary Palm is pretty much the widest spreading palm that we can grow around here. And this gets really close to that spread width, which is nice because that means it's going to make some shade for you eventually. And also it can make shade in an area where you don't need to water it. So I really think this tree has quite potential for our region here. You can imagine if it wasn't on this ridge top, here's this ridge top, look how exposed it is to wind coming across from the west, from the storms and just all of the onslaught of air movement. And yet it looks really good. What else to say about this tree? So in an ideal world, we would plant all these plants and they would look green and lush and beautiful, yet we wouldn't be watering them hardly at all, if at all. That would be the ideal situation. Then we can use water for more productive purposes, as in food production, or fire prevention or whatever, habitat for fish. So like my whole entire garden out here is sort of tells the story of that philosophy, and use a bunch of water to get things going, and then back the water off, use drought tolerant plants that'll survive once you take the water away. Yet you still want that lush feeling. Everybody wants lushness. Everybody wants to live in an oasis. No one wants to live in the middle of a rock garden with no lush plants. So this plant would go a long way in that endeavor, and I just think it's really spectacular. What do you think? There's a comment section. What do you think? Anyway, it's Parajubaea, torrellyi. There's several different species of this. There's one that's the Ecuadorian coconut, and I have that out in the front yard. That's a really nice plant as well. The difference is the Ecuadorian coconut, the fronds will bend over more, and so they'll be in your face a little longer. This one will be in your face a little bit too for a little while, but less so than the Ecuadorian coconut. You can always trim it up. I've just been lazy. And the Ecuadorian coconut really likes, listen to that noise. If that doesn't relax you, I don't know what will. The Ecuadorian coconut likes coastal conditions, whereas this one here from Peru can handle desert, dry conditions like Phoenix, inland California, maybe even places in New Mexico. But there you go. You've got your Parajubaea torrellyi. You get a couple angles of it here from Peru, the Peruvian coconut. You can can see when it gets a trunk a little bit bigger. It does look a lot like a coconut. It's very similar. But you can see what that will look like in time when you're standing underneath it, sitting in your swimming pool, sipping that margarita. And come on down, Golden Gate Palms in Point Richmond, California. You get yourself one of these coconuts or the 99 other kind of palms that we sell. No one in their right mind should sell as many different kind of palms as we do. But when you have a fetish, you have a fetish, and you just, can't help it. So, Parajubaea, torrellyi, Peruvian